What's up, good people? It's your boy, Leroy McKenzie Jr., coming to you again. Here we go with the Author Showcase number five, you all, where we are bringing you some of the most impactful, the most innovative writing authors that we can bring to you from around the country. These are individuals that have messages, that have movements, that have motivation that will enlighten you, that will empower you, that will impact you in such a way that you will be better after the conversation that you listen to, that you watch, than you were before. These authors are some phenomenal storytellers. They are some phenomenal message bringers. These are some of the most creative people, some of the most creative people that I've had the pleasure to be able to meet. And then they also have some just very compelling stories. They have some interesting stories, which brings me to our guest that we have today. I don't think y'all going to meet anybody else who can tell you the story that this man has put together and told his story. And this is none other, and I want to make sure that I get this right, that it's Glenn W. Powell, who's a Sergeant First Class, retired. But I want to make sure that I always get that right when we pay tribute to those that have lived a life of service, who have given a life of service to this country. So I want to welcome none other than Sergeant First Class retired Glenn W. Powell to the Author Showcase, brought to you actually by the National Black Unity News and JNF Enterprises, which is where we have this. It's the #1 nation's newspaper, Black newspaper, and we thought it would be a great idea to be able to showcase some great authors who have some great stories and great messages to be able to bring to people. So, Mr. Glenn, how are you today, sir?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it is a pleasure. It is a pleasure to have you. I'm just honored actually to have you on here, and I'm gonna mess with you before we get off of here because those that are connected to Mr. Powell on Facebook knows his alter ego. His alter ego. So I'm gonna say that for a little later, but. I want to start the conversation just by, because I don't read the bios or anything like that, but I'd like for you to just tell the people just a little bit about you and something that they won't know. So you can talk a little bit about the bio, about your background and stuff like that, but give them just a little something that they might not see in the bio about you as well, in addition to that as well.
All right. I've served in the military for 20 years. Wow. I'm from Toledo, Ohio, and I have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. I'm married also to a retired soldier.
Okay.
And I reside now in the Virginia area. Mm-hmm. One thing that people don't know that's in my bio, and I know what you were talking about, I am a grill master. At least once a week, I do grill. I love grilling. It comes from me being in Toledo, and it will be 20 feet of snow. My mother, she will be outside grilling.
Really?
Or it runs in the family.
That is awesome. And for those that haven't had the pleasure, you gotta tune in if you're on Facebook to go in. And this brother, he throws down on the grill. He is truly a grill master. He's not playing about that. He is serious about that grill and serious on the grill. So I love that. I enjoy it. And the thing is you don't just come on the grill. You actually bring the music into it, just the whole atmosphere behind it, around it, and everything. And I love it because the music you play is my kind of music too. So.
Right. And I try to take you back and say, hey, where were you during this time frame?
Absolutely. And that's why I enjoy it so much because you do. It does take you back. You're like, oh man, I remember that song. You start to groove to it and everything. Because it reminds you, like you said, with the grilling, you're just sitting out in the backyard with the family, having a cookout and everything.
That's
like
right.
that. So it's really that feel to it. So I love that. I love that. So that's it. And I kind of was hoping that you would go there too about what.
Oh yes, yes. Because again, I come from a family of grill masters. My sister, she
Okay.
grills out all the time. Yeah, she lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and hey, she's always on the grill too.
Oh, cool. That is cool. That is so cool. So let's start the write. Talk about write. When did you first start to write, or start to think about you being a writer and wanting to kind of take your thoughts that you had in your head to actually put in a book together?
When I started working at the White House back in 1991, I knew that I wanted to write a book, or I wanted to tell my story.
Okay.
Because again, I'm from Toledo, Ohio, and I'm just an average person that joined the military, and that was in the right place at the right time.
Okay.
And that's how I got the job at the White House. And I knew that someday I would want to write a book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's interesting. Now, when you went into the military, you just talked a little bit about it, how you wound up in the White House. Now, somebody doesn't just wind up in the White House like that, do they? Or is there a progression into that, or is there like a thing that you have to kind of navigate through to be able to get to that type of position and everything?
Right. At that time, it was, and what you would do, they would pick you. They would select you. Right. Yeah. They pull your records and they would select you. Then you had to go in just like a regular job for an interview.
Gotcha. Okay.
And depending on how you interview, whether you got the job or not. And at that time, I was working at Fort Belvoir for a 2-star general.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And a friend of mine named Maurice Perry, he left the position that I took over and went to the White House. And he said, after about a year after you've been at Fort Belvoir, I'll bring you over.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, what he did, it was a recommendation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's when I went over for a job interview in 91.
Gotcha. Wow, that's very interesting. Now, what made you want? Now, you said you had started off thinking about that you wanted to write at that time. Now, did you have in mind around that time that you wanted to write your story? Because this is about you. You know, your book is, and we'll talk about the title that you have for your book in a second. But your story is about you. And was it when you started thinking about writing at that time? Was it the thought of writing your story at that time? Was it something that you wanted to tell?
Yes, it was. What really brought it around was back in 2013. I had a health scare. And that's what made me move forward as far as writing the book.
Okay.
And I don't mind telling people I have kidney problems.
Okay.
So, I end up going to a kidney doctor, and my kidney doctor ended up going to Afghanistan. In the military, when you got military doctors, they end up rotating and going different places.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So my new kidney doctor was at Fort Belvoir, and I went to go see her, and I asked her to be my new doctor, and she said she would. She said, but you have to go to Bethesda to see me. I said, I don't have a problem with that. But she said, what I need to do a whole new workup on you. So I don't mind reading other doctors' notes, but I need to do a whole new workup. Mm. And once she did her workup, she discovered I had a mass on my right kidney. Oh, wow. And the mass was as big as an orange.
Oh, wow.
And yes. And so that's what made me started thinking about life, started thinking about what I have done, and that I didn't want to leave this earth and people not know exactly what was going on with me in my life.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. Now let's tell people the title of the book, and then we'll get into you telling people what the book is about. Okay. Now I got a copy of it here too, because I have a copy of it, but it is My Last Baggage Call Aboard Air Force One. That's the title of the book. And then your subtitle is A Journey of Sacrifice, Service, Family, and Friendship. And can you tell people a little bit how you got the title, came up with the title, and then also just what given just a little bit about what the book is about?
Right. I came up with the title because I was on Air Force One, and I was the head logistics guy. So anything that got loaded onto the airplane, as far as baggage, as far as gifts, and as far as things, for the president, the first family and any staff I had to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And when it says my last baggage call, when you go to a hotel, you have what's called a baggage call. You say baggage call is at 2 a.m. So that meant people had to put their bags outside the door at 2 a.m. and we would go by and pick them up.
Oh, okay.
And, right. And that's what it means, my last baggage call aboard Air Force One.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. And how long were you in that position where you were at the White House and on Air Force One?
10 and a half years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've dealt with a couple of presidents then, correct?
Yes. Bush 41, Clinton, and Bush 43.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And that is, I mean, I know that has to be interesting to deal with that. So that's really great. Now, talk a little bit about what the book is about, what your story is about in here, because I know you I know you don't talk about everything that
right.
That you encounter here, but there were I don't know if you pulled certain instances or if it was just your experience that you had there. So tell people just a little bit about what they'll get from the book.
Well, what they'll get is I started from humble beginnings. So that's the way I started the book. Again, being from Toledo, Ohio, you can say, I grew up in the hood.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that, I had overcome a lot of things in my neighborhood. Because again, we were around the corner from what's called the set. And that's where everybody would hang out at. And that's where the Black Panthers were. Mm. That's where the movie theater were. And all of the different restaurants and things like that. So I take you from my childhood all the way from me being in school to joining the military. And then also when I joined the military, the different places where I was stationed at, like Fort Hood, Texas, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, and Fort Eustis, Virginia, and then Mannheim, Germany. Mannheim, Germany is a very special place for me because that's where I met my wife.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I went all the way to Germany to meet her. And I'm from Toledo and she's from Cleveland. And
wow.
Right, and we met in Germany.
In Germany, oh my goodness.
and we used to hang out in some of the same places because when I was growing up, me and my friends used to go to Cleveland sometime.
Okay.
And so me and my wife would hang out in some of the same places, but I never knew her.
Wow.
We would talk about that.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's
very special place for me. That I met her in Mannheim, and I end up leaving Mannheim, coming to Fort Belvoir. And then she went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. Mm. And then that's when we got married and I brought her up here right before I went to the White House in 91. Again, that's how I start my book. Mm. And then once I started working at the White House, I take you from when I worked on the press plane to Air Force One. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much my journey and some of the different things that I did when I was working on both of those airplanes.
Okay.
Yes.
now, what's the message that you would like for the reader to come away with when they've when it's all said and done, they've read the last page of the book? What is it what's the message that you want to resonate with them?
That everybody comes from humble beginnings, but no matter where you're from or what you're doing, you can be successful. Mm-hmm. Everybody can. You just got to put your mind to it, and it's easy to overcome different obstacles in your life. Again, everybody, it takes a village. It really does to raise somebody. And that's what it was with me. I had a lot of positive people in my corner that was backing me and that was helping me. But you got some people that are haters, but you got to learn how to overcome the haters and be a bigger person. And that's what people will take away from this book, starting out with humble beginnings and being very successful and having a healthy life.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think that folks, especially in this day and time, need to really take heed of is our health and how important our health is to us. Now, what was it like? You mentioned that you did several, being in the military, you kind of get, bounced around and you have to do stints in different places. Is that something that you enjoyed doing, and that was one of the reasons why you went into the military, to be able to get those experiences that you get? And then, how long have you and your wife been married?
We've been married over 28 years.
Wow,
But
that's awesome.
we've been together 31.
Wow. Okay. Oh, wow.
Yes. Matter of fact, our anniversary coming up in May. It'll be 29 years married and 32 together.
32 together. And I love to hear that, because a lot of people don't understand. And I don't think in this day and time that people emphasize or acknowledge the marriages that are like yours, 28 years together. Those are some wonderful things, and I know that you all have some wonderful stories. But the being in the military and moving around, is that something that you knew? I mean, you probably knew it was coming, that it will be a part of your life. Is that something that you kind of welcomed and kind of took on, being a part of the military?
Yes, I did. And you know what? In the beginning, it was hard, because you're talking about an 18-year-old kid leaving home for the first time.
Right.
And you don't know anybody. And then you end up coming in the military, meeting people from all over the United States, and you become friends, and you learn that when you're not around for Christmas and Thanksgiving to go home, that people in the military invite you over their house. Right. So you become a family. You become real close with people in the military, and you learn how to make friends. It was a great experience for me. And I still, to this day, have friends I've been knowing for 30 and almost 40 years in the military.
Okay.
Yes.
No, and that's awesome. I mean, because those friendships, those bonds that you get, especially between military, because you all have some of the same. You all have gone through like basic training, and so y'all know some of the things that each of you have gone through, and then each of the different places that you all have been. So that's I think that's a great thing. Now, do you talk in your book? Do you talk a little bit about like the places that you've been? Do you talk about the different cultures that you've been a part of, especially like being in Germany and everything?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I speak on that very highly. Again, being in Germany, and I'll tell everybody, if you get a chance, go over there. It's a great experience. Really? You learn about a lot of the history of Germany. Like a lot of people, they talk about, and again, Hitler started out, and I didn't know this until I went to Germany. He started out being a great person. Okay. He turned sadistic.
Really? Okay.
Yes, he brought Germany back off the brink of being in poverty. Okay. That's why he came up, with the Autobahn. He came up with the Volkswagen and things like that. Wow. He started out being a great person, but turned sadistic. And you learn about a lot of that if you go over to Germany. You can read it in the books now, but it's nothing like seeing the places and talking to the different German people that can tell you about this kind of stuff.
Wow, and I never would have connected, honestly, I never would have connected Hitler with the Autobahn, with the Autobahn and things like that. That's interesting. That's very interesting and fascinating.
And a lot of people don't. Same thing with the Volkswagen. When he went to the guy and asked him, we wanted a people's car, because that's what Volkswagen means. It means people's car in Germany.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
You educate me today, because that is really something that I would have never connected those three things together like that. So yes. I think that's cool. That's cool. That's really cool. So tell us just a little bit about some of the. I mean, you mentioned Germany. Were there any other countries that you had to be in for a little while in your journey?
Yes. Well, I can tell you, being on Air Force One, I've been to all 50 states.
Really? Okay.
I've been on 6 of the 7 continents. Wow. I've been to South Africa. I've been to China. I've been to Australia. I've been in the Kremlin. I've met the Pope. I've met Nelson Mandela. I have a lot of great stories that I can tell you when it comes to traveling all over the world and being around 3 great presidents. Yes.
Oh, that's that's awesome, because you've gotten to do what many of us don't get to do. Like you said, you've been to all 50 states. How many people can truly say that they've been to all, visited all 50, all 50 states and everything? I think that's awesome. So, all right, I'm gonna ask you this, and this will be one of the last 2 questions. You gotta give us your best. I don't say not your best, your greatest president story. being with the three presidents. What is your greatest president story about being a part of that Air Force One, crew and everything like that? That you just like, wow.
Well, I can tell you, I've been a part of a lot of history. I'm gonna tell you a funny story that happened to me.
Okay.
On Air Force One. I was with President Clinton, and we were visiting Miami.
Okay.
Anybody that knows Miami, when it rains, it floods.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
So we were there overnight, and President Clinton got up the next morning. He wanted to go golfing.
Okay.
And he went golfing, and we went to go load the airplane because we were leaving that day.
Okay.
At that time, Air Force One had to be loaded 2 hours prior before our departure time.
Okay.
So I had the airplane loaded, and me and the guy that was with me, we had to take the vehicle back to turn it in.
Okay.
So we ended up getting cut off. A lot of streets were flooded. And, by the time we got the vehicle back, President Clinton had decided he was going to leave early from golfing because the golf course was flooded. So he said, let's go to the airplane. He leaves early. I'm still on my way back to the airport. We get to the airport gate, and we see Air Force One flying over us.
Oh, no.
Air Force One ended up leaving me in Miami. He went to Jacksonville, Florida. That was another stop that he went to.
Okay.
And my family was at the airport because my sister and my brother, they live in Jacksonville.
Right.
They were at the airport waiting on him, and I had to call her and tell her that, hey, I'm not going to be there because I'm stuck in Miami.
Right.
So the airplane, imagine seeing your ride leave you and fly over you.
Exactly.
My heart dropped. So I did the smart thing. We ended up getting a flight back to Washington, D.C. because we didn't know how long he was going to stay in Jacksonville, Florida.
Gotcha.
So, I had the people pick me up from National Airport and take me out to Andrews Air Force Base. So I got to Andrews 30 minutes before Air Force One landed.
Okay.
And they did a story in the newspaper, which is in my book, about me missing the flight. So, I am a part of history.
So when they're ready to go, they're ready to go.
Yes.
Wow.
It go back to, and I tell people this all the time, Batman don't wait on Robin. If Robin ain't sitting in the Batmobile, Batman is gone.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's a great story. That's a great story. Like you look it up and you're like,
right. And your heart just drops. Your heart just drops. And then another part of history was 9/11. Me and my wife, we were on our way to the White House to go to the credit union. We were on 95, and the plane that hit the Pentagon flew right over us.
No.
So we saw the plane hit the Pentagon.
Wow.
So instead of going into D.C., I backed up 20 feet to get on an off-ramp to go back home. But we did witness that plane hitting the Pentagon. Wow. And right where it hit is where my wife used to work. So if she was back at the Pentagon at work that day, my wife wouldn't be here.
Wow.
And again, that's not in the book, but I tell people that story, during 9/11, that was something else. I just couldn't believe the plane flew right over us.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I told her that plane is a little bit too low. And then next thing you know, boom.
Boom. Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. And that's true. And that's got to be, I know for both of you, but yet alone her, she's like, oh my goodness, when that happened, because, especially those that worked in the Pentagon, that worked in the towers, that weren't at work that day, that, for whatever reason, they just weren't there. It's just like, man, it's like, wow. Yep. Wow. You actually never know. You never know.
We would have been in DC what held us up because I had lost the key to our storage unit. So I had to wait on the people to open up the place to give me a new key.
Oh, wow.
Other than that, we would have been in DC when all that happened.
Right.
Yep. Right. So everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. And I think everybody remembers where they were
Yes.
that day that happened, because I know for me, I was working at a hotel. I was a front office manager at a Holiday Inn at the time, and all of us, everything just stopped. And we brought the TVs out, brought the TVs out into
Right.
the lobby,
Right.
so that we could watch what was going on and everything like
Right.
that. And here's the crazy thing, and I'll never forget this. A week later, after that, our general manager committed suicide.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, it just
Man.
I will never forget that time, because
Right.
it was such a shock with happening. I said, because it was just like we had just gone through the
Right.
9/11 and everybody dealing with that,
Back.
and then you throw that on top of it, where you had this the general manager, him taking his own life,
Right.
in his house. Yeah, it was just like, so
Yeah.
that all things like that just always stick with
Right.
stick with you and everything like that. So
Yeah.
that's wild. But thankful that you had to wait for the storage that you had to wait
Yes.
for the storage people to come and give you a new key and everything like that on
Yeah.
on that particular day. So
Mm-hmm.
I want you to tell people to know how they can, one, purchase the book, where they can go to purchase the book, and then two, how they can connect with you if they want you to be able to come out for speaking engagements, because I'm sure people
Yeah.
want to hear you come and speak and talk about not just the book, but the experiences that you have and everything like that. But how people can connect with
The best way to connect is through my website, which is gwpowell.com. I'm also on Facebook, Glenn W. Powell Author, and that's my Facebook page. I'm on Twitter, Glenn W. Powell 1. You can reach me by that way. And then on my website is where you can purchase my book, and also where you can book me for speaking engagements. There's a form on there you can fill out and send it to me. You can send me a message. I also have a page, newsletter that you can be a part of. You can also sign up for that on my website.
Oh, that's awesome, and I'm glad you did that, because so many authors, the first thing that you hear them say when it talks about their contact information is they give their Amazon,
Right.
address, as opposed
Right.
to their website. So I'm so
Right.
glad you did that, because that's a pet peeve of mine. I'm like, I want to make sure that people go directly to support these authors, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the showcase, because I
Right.
want these authors to be able to get direct promotions, get direct
Right.
a platform that can directly affect them. If they have websites, I certainly want people to understand, being an author, having a website, how important it is to be able to have
It's
a
very
website.
important.
Have a
Yes.
website for people to have, and not saying that there's anything wrong with having an Amazon,
Right.
Amazon presence and everything like that. That should be one of the tools in your toolkit. But my
Yes.
main thing is exactly what you just did. Go to my website
Right.
and be able to do, and be able to connect with you, not just to purchase the book, but like you said, for
Right.
the speaking.
And you can see different photos. You can see different videos that I've done. I also, this video is on there.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
featured here. I'm
Really?
featured here. Yes.
Oh, wow.
This is
Okay.
the first Air Force One video that they did with Clinton and President Bush.
Really? Okay.
Yes, and it's on my website, and you can go to there and purchase it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, you can see me in there. You can say, okay, I know who he is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, let me before we go, I want you to just, and we should have talked about this a little earlier. I want you to talk about your journey as a writer. What was that writing process like for you, as being a writer?
It started out, I started jotting things down.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did, I started going through my memory. And again, a lot of people in the military, we remember stuff by different songs. And that's why I started putting the music into the Grill Master. Because again, it reminds you of places and things that you've done.
Got it.
And once I started jotting things down, started putting them together, and then I also, Janice Kearney, who's my other person that helped me write the book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We started putting things together, her and my wife, and you just got to kind of put things on paper. And once you do that, you got to put in perspective, what do you want first? What do you want second? How do you want to tell your story?
Right.
Because I tell everyone now, even when I do speaking engagements, everybody has a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, how do you want to tell your story, and what do you want to put in your story? Again, like you said earlier, what message are you trying to convey to people? And that's what you want to know, and that's how you start putting your story and everything together and start writing your book. I can tell you, we went through a whole lot when it came to editing the book.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. One of the things I was going to get into.
Yes,
as well with
I mean, we went through about 14 different edits.
Did you? Mm-hmm.
Now, when you include your family in a book, you want to make sure they're able to read what you're talking about.
Right.
Because if you don't allow them to do that, you and your family may not never speak again.
Right. And I tell authors that too. When you're writing your story, I said it's going to be some folks that may not like what you have to say.
Yes. So I let my family look at what I was writing, and I let them put an excerpt in the book.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I allowed them to tell their side of the story, to say, hey, this is how we grew up. So I didn't want anybody in my family mad at me, because I love my sisters and my mother. And I didn't want anybody mad. So again, I let them be a part of the book. And you have to do that when you're writing your story and talking about different people. You want to make sure you bring everybody in a good light.
Right. Absolutely. Now, was there a process that you had to go, being in the military and then working for the White House? Was there a process that they had to take through, as far as like the editing that you had to go, that they take you through too, as far as them looking, them kind of saying, okay, talking about certain things and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, as long as you're not talking about anything dealing with the White House. The person that helped me write the book, Janice Kearney, she used to work at the White House.
Okay.
So she knew all the proper protocols and steps that needed to be taken.
Gotcha.
Again, there's certain things you can talk about when it comes to you, but then there's certain things you can't talk about.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, I can only imagine that, because, like you said, there's certain things that you just you're not going to talk about at all. So.
Again, I can tell you, I've been around a lot of great history, and I've met a lot of great people working at the White House, and being there, it exposes you to a whole lot of great things and a part of history. Okay. And then people that they know you've been a part of history, but when you start going to speaking engagements and telling people different things, just like Lenin's tomb in Moscow.
Okay.
I've been there, and that
really?
guy. Okay. Yeah, it's amazing to see that kind of history there. Right. And again, like I said, how many people been to the Kremlin?
Right. Exactly.
Right. it was just amazing doing those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for sharing your memories, your message with us. And I want you to give your contact information one more time, because I always like to have people to repeat that, so that people can know again, just in case. I mean, even though they'll be able to see it time and time again, and those that'll be watching it, later and everything, they'll be able to have that information. But if you can give your contact information one more time for me.
Yes, you can go to my website, which is gwpowell.com, and I'm on Facebook. You can go to Glenn W. Powell, author, and then I'm on Twitter at Glenn W. Powell 1. That's how you can reach me.
Absolutely. And this is a gentleman that is well worth reading the book. I know that you will enjoy the stories that he talks about in here, especially like you said, about coming from humble beginnings and being in the position that you were in, as far as being able to travel where you travel with the different countries, and being in all 50 states. Like I said, there's very few of us that can say that we've been to all 50 states.
Yes.
And I actually had a friend of mine that I think a business associate of mine, I think one of his, because he's a speaker as well, but one of his goals was to speak, her one of her goals was to visit all 50 states as well.
Right.
So it's, it's great to hear like that, to be able to hear that you not only traveled this country, but the number of other countries that you've been able to be a part of and to be able to see the cultures that you've been able to experience too, which I think is, it
Yes.
just opens our mind. I think that opens our minds up to so much more when
Oh, it does.
we're able to encompass other cultures other than ours too. So um,
Yes.
I want to thank you again. And this is actually the first day of Black History Month. So I appreciate you being on with me at the beginning of Black History Month. I think that's a phenomenal way to be able to start the Black History Month off. And what better way to start Black History Month off than to having a book by an author who has an awesome story to be able to tell. I think you'll be enlightened by it. I think you'll be empowered by it. I think you'll be impacted by it because his story is one that I think takes people on a journey that they might not ordinarily be able to be able to have if it weren't for him writing. So, so I want to thank you again for joining us on the Author Showcase, the Author Showcase brought to you by the National Black Unity Newspaper and JNF Enterprises. We appreciate you. You
Thank
can also check absolutely, and you can check out the newspaper. You can go on to the Facebook page. There's a Facebook page for the National Black Unity Newspaper. You can check out our YouTube channel, which is where this will be as well, under the National Black Unity Newspaper. And then also we have Facebook, we have YouTube, and then I believe Twitter as well. You can go, and the website. It's the tnbun.com. You can go on there as well. So we want to thank you, Mr. Powell. Thank you again for joining us. Do you have any parting words that you want to leave people with?
Yes, I very much appreciate being on this platform, and thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. And all I got to say to people, hey, live each day very well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Y'all heard it from the grill master. That's what I'm
Yeah,
gonna
and hey, I'm getting ready to go right now and get my stuff because I'm grilling tomorrow.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool. I know you will. So it is all. I'm telling y'all, this brother does not play on the grill. He is no joke. Y'all got to check it out because I love his lives when he does that. When he does it, he is truly a grill master. So thank you very much. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to be able to join us and to be able to come and share just a little bit of your message with people. And then I know, like I said, that they will be enlightened, empowered, and impacted in such a way that they'll be better after they read your book than they were before they read.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. Thank you so
All
much.
right.